Alright, so let's go. What we got going on today is I got some loose ends that I gotta tighten up on the Acura Integra build. The entire thing has been, it's been a struggle throughout to get this thing done, but I think I see the finish line in sight. Also, I wanna work on the 1988 Honda Accord build, the LS swapped Honda Accord. That thing is leaking oil so bad I can't even drive it. I believe it's coming from the rear main seal. We'll take a look at that once we get there. So what I wanna do first, focus on the Integra, then I'm gonna make my way over to the Honda Accord. Either way, man, back to work.
And now, you're watching the online ordered Christmas decorations expected to be delivered after Christmas channel of YouTube. Welcome to Bodie Vision.
Hey, so what is up and welcome. Thank you guys so much for joining me on yet another video. So the first thing that I wanna do and or address is I have the gauges in this car. They've been down kind of by where the radio goes. I want to put a radio in this car. I want to put a radio in this car eventually because I feel like it should have a radio. So I want to move the gauges somewhere else, somewhere that is going to make more sense. And I found the best alternative is to just use one of these. I don't know if I'm the biggest fan of the way this looks, but I think it looks better than having the gauges up on the pillar over here. So I'm going to go ahead and get the old one ripped out, put the new one in. I believe this was just a 3D printed part. It was real cheap. Got it on Amazon. I don't have high hopes for it, but if it works, right? And also, I wanted to clarify, when I'm saying gauges, I mean the wideband and my boost gauge. Two things that you need to run when you're running a turbo car. So this comes out, pretty simple. And then this little bezel piece replaces that. Looks to be the same. I'm gonna just do a little dry fit here just to see, and then I'll worry about getting the gauges up here. If this doesn't fit, I'm not even gonna mess with it. If it does fit, oh well. Alright, let's move forward with this. Alright, so everything looks good. Now one thing is, since this car was sitting for a while, I was reading a crazy air-fuel ratio. So what I went ahead and I did is I just have the owner's manual right here. I just went ahead and looked, figured out how to recalibrate it. So you can disconnect the sensor and then plug it back in and you won't ever lose your calibration. But if you disconnect it, start the car or power up the sensor, then you got to go through the entire process of recalibrating it, which is no big deal because I just had to recalibrate it and I wanted to recalibrate it. Then I started up, the calibration seemed to be normal, everything seemed to be good, and we are looking pretty good. One thing that I don't really like about this is it really blocks the engine temp sensor and my fuel level sensor. It doesn't block them so much that I can't see them, so it'll be okay. And this works. I mean, it's better than having the gauges down low. I can at least see them and monitor everything as I'm driving, so it is what it is. That'll work. So since my boost gauge and the AFR gauge is no longer down here and I don't have a radio for this car yet, I will order one eventually, but I just want to kind of put something there so that way I can make the car feel a little bit more complete, and I have the materials anyways. I'm all about making what you can with the stuff that you got. So this plastic, this is just some textured ABS plastic. I use this on the gauge cluster of a different project, actually the 1988 LS swapped Honda Accord. This is what I used it for. So I just took a measurement over here and I'm gonna make it just a little bit bigger so that way it can wedge in there behind those tabs, and I think it would be fine. So what it came down to was right about where this tape line is, and then over here 7.5 by 4 1/4. Went ahead and I drew it out, and let's just go ahead and get this cut, and I'll show you how I like to cut this stuff as well. So what I have here is the old rusty reliable throatless shear. That's what this is called. It's a throatless shear. It's really good for making straight lines, curved lines. It's mainly meant for metal, but I like it for this because if you were to use an angle grinder on this, it gets too hot and melts it and it becomes a mess. So I just have my line here that I'm gonna follow. I'll carry it all the way through just so that way that's cut off, and then I'll go ahead and I'll address that other cut. So this machine just kind of nibbles away at it, and it makes easy work out of any cuts, and you just follow your line, push it down, and it's really good. And I put the tape on the other side just so that way it wouldn't get scratched up, just on the actual rusty metal itself. But if you're cutting a piece of metal, you don't have to worry about that at all, really. That's the first one. Nice, relatively straight. It's gonna tuck in behind those tabs anyways. So we got this one. Old rusty tool. It's an awesome tool though. You can buy them brand new if you just look up throatless shear. There's a bunch of companies that make them. So right there, I was dead on the money. It looks good. Nice clean cut. Easy. I mean, if you wanted to get it more straight, or if you needed to get it more straight, I don't know what you could use. Jigsaw or something, maybe. Cable. All right, let's go throw this in the car and see what it looks like. All right, so hopefully that'll just fit right in there. I think it will. I don't see us having any problems. Also, I forgot to mention this carpet, brand new by the way. It's from an aftermarket company. It doesn't fit perfect, but I didn't pay OEM prices, so I don't expect OEM fitment. That looks good. Just nice little block off plate. It's not going to come out of there at all. I could have even put the gauges down here, but a big thing is I had the gauges down here and I didn't like driving, looking down, driving, looking down. I want them in my field of vision as I'm driving. So that looks good. Maybe I can even just put a radio in here, then I won't have to buy any kinds of plates. That looks good for now. Let's just keep going, put the rest of the pieces back in the car. So now it is actually the next day, so that's the old cowl over there, and yesterday I just got this from the junkyard. I got another one. It's not in perfect condition, but it has all the seals and everything that I need. I think that'll do. Also picked these up. These are the old ones. These are the new ones that I just ripped from the same car. And also seat belts. This car didn't come with seat belts and I want seat belts to be in the car. So the Integra that I found at the junkyard gave me all the parts that I needed. Let's just get them slapped on there and then we'll maybe get over to the Accord. I'm kind of all over the place, but that's just how it is. Alright, so at this point I have definitely went further than what I was anticipating on going, but I think I did it for a good reason. So as I was pulling the transmission out, the transmission which is right there, it was really a pain to get it out of there, and I was thinking it's going to be 3 times more of a pain to get it back in there, and I don't have 3 times more of a pain in me. So what I wanted to do, and I knew that I was going to have to work on the motor anyway. So motor is out of the car now, engine bay sitting there empty, and the trans is right there. So what I think I'm gonna do is when I put everything together, I didn't replace the throwout bearing, so I'm gonna go ahead and do that now. Money was real tight back then. Money is a little less tight now, so I can go ahead and afford to just do that, and I do not want to pull the motor out again. So what I figured out, or what I'm suspecting the problem to be, is I thought it was gonna be the rear main. I thought maybe when I put it back on, I just didn't centralize everything like it should have been, but it didn't look like the rear main. All the gaskets look fine and everything, but what I'm seeing is there's oil coming from the pilot bearing right here, and inside there and this is just what I looked up. I didn't know anything about this before. So there's a freeze plug in there right on the crank, preventing oil from coming this way. So I think that freeze plug is failing. Something that I read is if somebody's not careful as they're pulling out the pilot bearing, it's very possible that that freeze plug was damaged. So now I just got to go to the store, rent a little tool to pull out the pilot bearing. Then I'm going to take a look at that freeze plug, see what's going on, if it's damaged or if I could just replace it and fix it. I want to do what I got to do to get the motor put back together properly, to get the trans back on there properly outside the car, make sure everything is finalized, get it thrown back in the car, and then finally get this thing on the road. It's been sitting at about 90% for well over a year now, and there's really, if I had to make an excuse for it, life got in the way, but I want to get this car on the road. I want to drive it every single day to the store, do all of that stuff, because it's a badass build. I really enjoy it, I really like it, and it kind of hurts to see it just sitting here, but I want to address that. And pulling out the motor out of a fresh build that probably hasn't even seen 100 miles was kind of difficult, but it's all good, man. I'm still enjoying myself out here at the shop either way. So Integra's looking good. The only thing this thing needs now is a final detail, and that's about it. And I'm kind of back and forth between working on the Honda Accord, and also I'm gonna have a lot more content coming out once I get the home shop built. Right now I'm currently going through the process of dealing with code enforcement and getting a permit and figuring out exactly what I got to do. I already put a deposit on a building, which is really nice, and I'm in the process of waiting for them to either approve or deny my permit. I think they're just gonna call me, say, hey, your permit's good to go, come pay for them and pick them up. And I cannot wait for all of that, because once I get a shop at the house, that's 2022 is going to be the year that I'm going to get back into it. 2021 was just a year of me working. Next year will be me working too, but I'll be able to come out with a lot more content if I have a shop at home. So man, really feels good to be uploading again. A lot more content to be coming in 2022. Hopefully my next video isn't too far away, and I will see you guys on the next one. Thanks so much for watching. Like this video, comment, subscribe, do all the stuff. You know what it is, YouTube. I'll see you on that next one. I'm out.